Sir, can we move on to our next topic? This
Definitely.
is little skirmish at the North American region as well. डावोस में हमने देखा सर, जिस तरीके से यूएस के अगेंस्ट काफी लोग खड़े हो गए. मार्क कार्नी वाज अ स्टार्टलिंग एग्जांपल. इनफैक्ट ही वाज हेल्ड एज अ हीरो अमंग ऑल द एडवर्सरीज ऑफ, जो कि एडवर्सरी अभी हो गए यूएस के, their earlier friends. तो इसमें सर, हाउ डू यू सी कनाडा एंड यूएस का रिलेशंस? इनफैक्ट अभी आई थिंक ट्रम्प इज लिटिल मोर aggressive towards Canada is what the news is coming out.
See, why did Mark Carney go against the US? You look at it over the years, what was happening? Canada always believed that it was supported by the US, it could do what it wants. When the US decided to enter Iraq, Canada was there.
Yeah,
Whatever the US did, whether it overthrew the government of Iraq, Libya, it bombed Iran a few months ago, everywhere and every time, it's sanctions on Cuba for decades, sanctions on Venezuela, Canada has stood alongside.
yeah,
When has Canada questioned and said the US is wrong? Why did Trudeau have the guts to blame India on Niger's killing?
correct.
Why did things worsen up between India and Canada in Trudeau's time? Because it had US backing.
US backing, yeah.
So, because it had the backing and it supported the US and the US supported him, Canada thought it was in pig's back. Now that Trump is telling everybody, Bhai Sahab, you've looted me enough. Now I'm going to get my share back from you. The trade imbalances are not in our favor, so the trade balance, and now I'm going to resort that out. Now Mark Carney is crying. Where were you when all this was happening?
Yeah.
Where was Canada? Now that you are being hit, you are now trying to create a scene and try to become a hero. Hero to whom? Now Europe, he's telling Europe, you cater for your own defense. Europe is suddenly trying to become a hero. All these years when you were supported, you were accepting all, I mean, you were acting like a big boss because you had US support.
Right.
Now that the US is telling you, please, you exploited us enough, now come down to Mother Earth. Now you want to say that I'm going to speak this nonsense?
How ironical is this, sir,
No,
that US
that's
is
what the
saying?
point is. Now, now the next US president will come in 3 years hence who may possibly change Trump's policies. Now again you'll be a good boy. And you will not make such a statement.
Yeah,
So, I mean, are you being morally correct by making this statement? Second, now the US is now, you see, if you go on the wrong side, you're bound to be bullied. If you don't have the power, you are fully dependent. 75+% of Canadian trade is with the US. Now, sanctions imposed or tariffs imposed, you may impose. Your imports are less. In fact, for the entire car industry, all spare parts are made in Canada and shipped across.
yeah,
So if there are tariffs imposed, automatically it will be there. Now, it was an open border. There was a lot of free movement of people, free movement of drugs. Abhi recently, that guy has also been arrested, moving a large quantity of drugs. So a whole lot of things were happening. You were keeping quiet all that time. Now that you're being hit, you're crying. Now the latest case is of the F-35. Trudeau ordered, I think, about 88 or something F-35s. The price has gone up by about 3 billion or 4 billion in 4 years. Now they want to reduce it to about 17, 18. And they want to go in for some Italian aircraft or the Euro, or I think Gripen or something, which is a Swedish aircraft. The US ambassador to Canada made it very clear. You go for an aircraft that is not matching with us, since either we will reconsider NORAD with the North American security, air defense security, or and we will also have to have our F-35s flying deeper into Canada to ensure our security. As it is, there is an agreement for aircraft from both sides to fly across. But he says we'll fly in far deeper. They don't like it. Now yesterday's news was uh, Trump's administration meeting with people from Alberta who want to break away from Canada. Canada's got a different constitution. Now, for them, as far as this place is concerned, Montreal is the capital of which province, slipping my mind. Now, those guys are basically French Canadians. They've had two or three voting rounds on splitting from Canada, but they've continued. Now, Alberta will be the next. And Alberta is where all the oil of Canada is. I remember 2006 when I was in Canada doing a course with the Canadian forces. Alberta was the only province which paid back part of the tax which you've deposited because of surplus income. So they produce the oil, they've got a smaller population, and they are much better off. That is the one which Trump is interested in. Sorry, I was talking of Quebec province, of which Montreal is the capital. They wanted to break away. Twice, thrice they've had their referendums. So he is exploiting Canada. He's pushing Canada. And naturally, he will push because he wants to reconsider the North American Treaty involving Canada, US, and Mexico.
Mexico.
That treaty is due for renewal end of this year, which is what he's going to change to favorable terms. Now it
This is a
favors
kind of a
Canada
free
and
trade agreement,
Mexico.
right, sir? ये एक
Hmm?
free trade agreement है
It's
between.
something like a free trade agreement, but not exactly free trade, it benefits these two countries and not the US. So basically, that is what he's doing. And naturally, when Carney all these years was banking on US support, and suddenly when he finds that reducing, he criticizes the US and Trump's policies without naming Trump or the US. Naturally, it's bound to hit back. As long as you could gain, you were very happy. Now that you can't gain, you're complaining. So there is a difference. And I guess that is how the global system works. He was not the only one.
Yeah,
The German chancellor supported him. Today, the India EU free trade agreement is also to some extent because of Trump. The defense agreement is also on some account because of the threat of the US, warning Europe that you have to cater for your own security. So all these issues have come up, and the impact is across the board. But at the same time, you also got to realize that as long as you were supporting them, they were supporting you. You get a damn. They bombed Kosovo in 1999 without UN sanction. You did that on Iraq, Libya, wherever you went. Europe stood with you, nobody bothered. They were very happy. India, Canada, miserable bloody treatment that was, between the two nations, the way the diplomatic ties went down because of US backing.
yeah.
Now, can they do that? There's a difference.
अभी तो it is like Canada cannot think of doing that because Mark Carney will be here in March,
Uh,
and so they can't.
See, now
So
they're looking, no, now they've realized that 78% dependence on US is wrong.
yeah,
Now they desperately want to expand markets. If you look across the world, there are only two countries to whom everybody is running: India and China. That's it. Because these are the two of the largest markets. After US, the most powerful economies. And the way the nations are growing and the market is there, you want an agreement here because that is where you will gain. That was something which Trudeau missed out because he was very happy with that 75% trade. But that is the difference that is there. And that is why the EU, whether it's Britain, we already have a free trade agreement with the UK.
yeah.
Now it's the EU, Brazil is coming in, Carney is coming in, the German Chancellor is rushing in. Everybody is running here. You're either running to India and you're running to China. Carney went to China, he's coming here. The German Chancellor was in China, he's coming here. So everyone is moving this side.
German Chancellor had already come here, sir.
I think he
was
scheduled, who scheduled in February? He scheduled again in February, I think, if I'm not
February
mistaken.
में Macron is coming, sir.
Macron is coming, and I think Samacha. Okay. So Macron is coming in
German
February.
Chancellor Merz was already here. Then we
Correct.
signed on the
Correct.
P75I
Correct.
air independent
Yeah.
propulsion deal.
Yeah. So he's come, Macron is coming in. So why are they running? They are only running to India and China. These are
Correct.
the two countries now in demand.
Correct. Very true, sir.
Now, Carney was the one, I mean, his predecessor buggered up the relations. But today, now, Carney is coming here to reset. So that is the difference.
अभी कनाडा के केस में सर इट इज लाइक दे कांट हैव अ फ्री ट्रेड अग्रीमेंट विद अस बिकॉज दे ऑलरेडी आर कवर्ड बाय द NAFTA, द नॉर्थ अमेरिकन फ्री
No, no,
ट्रेड
no,
एग्रीमेंट
no.
बिटवीन
No, he's
यूएस
already
कनाडा एंड
asked.
मेक्सिको.
That is okay. He's already asked for a free trade agreement with India. He said, let's begin negotiations immediately.
So that is sector wise, sir. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that's a sector wise kind of a individual kind of an
See,
agreement.
what they've got within themselves is on their own produce, which is also now actually no longer valid because the US has imposed tariffs. So, इनका जो free trade agreement है, under that agreement, there should have been no tariffs.
Yeah.
But if the US has imposed tariffs, where does that hold ground? So that is where the status is. And now they have to realize that this is the only answer.
कॉमेडी ऑफ एरर्स है. कोई यहां से निकल के कहीं और किसी और के साथ जा रहा है.
That is it.
Geopolitics is changing fast.
Oh, yes.
Very, very fast.
That is something we have to be ready for.
Right. Right, sir. Thank you so much then. These are really great insights from you. Always lovely to talk to you.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind. Bharat Mata
Jain.
ki jai. My request to our viewers is to like, share, and subscribe our channel. And thank you so much for being with us. We'll have another coffee session with Harsh sir again. Thank you so much, sir.
Total pleasure.
Thank
Okay.
you.